I'd like to introduce these guys. This is Jenny Shank. She is, total rock star, award-winning author. She teaches at Lighthouse Writers Workshop and at Regis. And her most recent book is called Mixed Company. It's right here. You'll be able to buy it later if you want. It is a Colorado Book Award winner in general fiction. And the book is, in this book, Jenny Shank reveals moments of grace and connection between people of her hometown, Denver. Through stories that contrast the city during its oil bust era of economic troubles and court-ordered crosstown busing for racial desegregation with the burgeoning and gentrifying city of recent years.
Okay, so like Tracy said, I grew up in Denver, and then now I've lived in Boulder for about 20 years. So I really care about this state, and I set most of my writing in Colorado. So Mixed Company is a collection of funny short stories about people trying to connect across chasms caused by differences in race and culture and age and language and disability, to reach across and form some kind of connection with other people, whether it's love or friendship or at least respect. And oftentimes these attempts at connecting with across difference go awry in my stories, and that's where I really find stories, in that awkwardness where people are trying to get to know other people and it doesn't go that well sometimes. So I'm going to read part of a story today called Local Honey. And in this story, a couple of white hippies from Boulder adopt a black son. And as he grows up, becomes a teenager, they feel him, kind of rebelling in all the usual teenage ways, but they're worried that it's more about the cultural differences. And so they decide, we're going to bond with him by taking him to a Wu-Tang Clan show in Denver with us. Okay, Gwen and Stephen Overby ceded control of the car radio to their son Hugh when he turned 12. Instead of the Boulder Community Radio Station's African Roots or Bluegrass breakfast shows, Hugh chose the Denver hip-hop station. To Gwen, the DJs on it always seemed to be shouting, as if they were in a crowded club, trying to make themselves heard over the din. Gwen tolerated the station and still hoped this music would grow on her, because she was reluctant to become the sort of parent who would detest her child's music. She often thought about something she'd read in the pamphlets the adoption counselor pressed on her long ago. Occasionally, adult interracial adoptees moved far away, settled into a community of their own race, and denied their adoptive parents. Would he do that to them, their Hugh? She hoped learning to enjoy Hugh's favorite music would be one small way to prevent this. It was Gwen who heard the DJs announce that the Wu-Tang Clan would perform in Denver soon after Hugh's 14th birthday. And it was Gwen who observed how Hugh turned the radio up when the DJ said this, how he leaned forward and stared into it as if he could glean more information by scrutinizing the number on the display. And it was Gwen who helped hang the posters of the Wu-Tang Clan that papered her son's walls. Despite this, Gwen would later claim that it had been Stephen's idea to accompany their son to the Wu-Tang concert. But they wouldn't be able to begin their argument about the genesis of this plan until after they endured the show, pushed through the crowd to the exit, drove home to Boulder, and lay sleepless on their pillows, temples pounding to separate rhythms. Had they known anything about it, they would have tried something lighter first, like the Black Eyed Peas or the Roots. Had they known anything about it, they would have bought earplugs and worn steel-toed boots. Had they known anything about it, they would have realized that their attempt at bonding with Hugh would in fact accelerate his debonding from them that began the day he started kindergarten. When Hugh opened his birthday card and 3 tickets to the concert fell out, he beamed. Then Stephen said, "I thought we could all go together." "We?" Hugh asked. "Yeah, me, you, and Mom." Hugh's expression betrayed the tug of 2 contrary emotions. "Do you like the Wu-Tang Clan?" he asked cautiously. "Well, I haven't made up my mind about them yet," Stephen said. "But I know they're your favorite, so we want to give them a try." "Oh," Hugh said, "but can I take Isaac and Cecil?" You have to be 16 to go without a parent, Stephen said. We went to a few concerts in our day, Gwen added. I don't remember why we ever stopped going. One day that week, Gwen noticed her family reflected in the mirrored windows of a building they were approaching and didn't recognize them for a moment. Who were these stooped, washed-out people with lank gray hair, looking every bit of their 52 years, wearing drab earth-tone t-shirts and faded denim? And what was this bright young man doing with them? Hugh was tall and striking, in dark indigo jeans and a crisp shirt so yellow that it taught those who beheld it what that color should be. He looked like a volunteer in some rehabilitation program that paired vital youths with burnt-out hippies. Okay, and then I'm going to skip a little bit. Okay. In the years after the Overbys adopted Hugh, psychologists began to investigate the effects of white couples raising black children. Gwen read the results of the studies in adoption newsletters. Most concluded that the kids did best when they lived in integrated neighborhoods and went to school with other black children. When Hugh was little, it never occurred to the Overbys that they were making more than the usual missteps as parents, and they never considered leaving Boulder, whose population was 80% white and less than 1% black. Gwen could practically name all the black people in Boulder, such as the Africans who taught at the World Dance and Drumming School, a handful of students, and the street performer who could fold himself to fit inside a small plexiglass box. Boulder was a beautiful town that transitory people often tarried in for a time, and many of them became stuck, as the Overbys had, with good jobs and stellar public schools for Hugh to attend. Besides, Hugh was immediately popular at school, a 5-year-old invited to so many birthday parties that Stephen fretted over the cost of the presents. Hugh learned and grew and made friends and developed a disposition so sunny that depressed people turned toward him like flowers toward the light. Stephen taught his son how to telemark ski and fish for rainbow trout in the mountain streams. He taught Hugh how to set up camp, how to focus a telescope and read a compass, a GPS, and a topographic map. He told Hugh to make a fist, drew concentric circles around Hugh's knuckle, then had him stretch his hand out to demonstrate what mountains look like in flat representation.
Nice.
Thank you. Gwen read Hugh a story before he went to bed every night and stirred a spoonful of local honey into his cereal each morning because she had read it prevented the development of pollen allergies. When he was scared of the dark, she taught him a prayer from her childhood, though she hadn't said it in years. They brought him biographies of prominent African Americans and forced him to watch Roots and Eyes on the Prize. They attended bi-monthly meetings of families of interracial adoptees, but most of the other kids were from China or Guatemala, most of the children were girls, and most of them were much younger than Hugh. But everyone in town was welcoming of the Overbys. It was only when the Overbys left Boulder that strangers would look at them, glance away, and then look again. Once at a restaurant, when they were driving out to the Eastern Plains to see Stephen's family, the hostess started to seat Gwen and Stephen separately from Hugh. Table for 3, not 2, Gwen had corrected the hostess, who apologized and hustled away from them as quickly as she could. Often strangers looking at them didn't even perceive them as a unit, as a family. When Hugh was 12, he and Gwen were walking through the mall in Denver, and they passed a group of black teenagers. Hugh fell silent, but Gwen kept talking. Now, do you need new jeans for school? You're growing so fast these days. Probably should get some socks and underwear, too. Hugh didn't respond, and Gwen glanced at the boys, who were grinning, listening carefully to their conversation, trying to figure out what the joke was, trying to determine why Hugh was following some white lady around the mall. Hugh pivoted and headed for the exit. Hugh, Gwen called. Where are you going? I need to stop at Walgreens. Then the boys began to cackle, and Hugh quickened his pace, hurrying away from her. When she rushed out to find him and ask him what was the matter, he wouldn't say. He just kept repeating, "Let's go home, Mom. Let's go home." At 13, Hugh began to grow relentlessly, and being close to him felt like standing near a source of pulsating energy, a barely contained force ready to break out and assert itself. He ate voraciously and seemed to radiate heat. His emotions became palpable in any room he occupied, whether he expressed them or not. Gwen could sense anger in particular when he asked her advice on his algebra homework and she misread a story problem. When he was halfway through working it the way she suggested, she would correct herself and instruct him to do it a different way. Hugh would silently seethe for a moment before he began to erase what he had written, so violently that sometimes the paper tore. One afternoon, Hugh came into the kitchen while Gwen was making carob chip cookies with honey, and he exploded at her. "I'm sick of honey," he shouted. "Normal people use sugar. The white kind, not that brown health crap. Sugar. And carob tastes nothing like chocolate. Carob tastes like ass." Gwen phoned the counselor who had helped them with the adoption to ask what was happening to Hugh. What was becoming of her open, inquisitive, happy child? The counselor ventured that the behavior she described was normal for a teenager, but suggested she try to offer him more opportunities to socialize with black people of his age or older. Gwen considered signing Hugh up for a YMCA basketball league in Denver, but worried about the traffic and construction they would contend with driving to the games. Gwen failed to convince Hugh that it would be a good idea to take an African dance class from the Ghanaian gentleman who strode the town in his dashiki. The Overbys began making weekend excursions to Denver, where Hugh could at least see more black people, but Gwen didn't know if this was helping. On the evening of the concert, the Overbys departed early, but when they arrived at the Fillmore, the line stretched from the security guards' blockade by the doors down the sidewalk for 2 blocks. They finally reached the security station and presented themselves for a pat-down, and Gwen's purse didn't pass inspection. The security worker held up a metal nail file and said, "Sorry, ma'am, you can't bring this in." Gwen stared at him. "You could shank someone with this," he said. Before Gwen had processed this information, Hugh declared, "I'll wait for you guys inside," and dug through the doors. When Gwen returned from depositing the objectionable item in the car, she found Stephen standing just inside the doors where they had agreed to meet, but Hugh was nowhere in sight. "He wanted to take a closer look, and this is close enough for me," Stephen said, so I let him go ahead. "There aren't even any seats. What kind of theater doesn't have seats?" Gwen scanned the crowd. "You know," she said, "it's mostly white kids here." Stephen scoffed. "Did you think that all the black people in Denver would turn out because it's a rap show?" "No," Gwen said, but she had been thinking something like that. I'll read one more paragraph and I'll stop. Gwen and Stephen were the oldest people in the Fillmore, even older than most of the bartenders and bouncers, but it was clear that no one noticed them. The concert goers were too taken with their own youth, vitality, and searched for illicit substances to perceive them standing in the back of the packed theater. Okay, so I'll stop there.
Oh my God.